Fine. In today's session, what we'll do is just we'll try to understand to record business transaction in Oracle EBS. It can be payables or receivables or fixed assets or any application, any Oracle applications. If you want to record the business transactions, which points we have to consider, how we have to set up the system ready, which will support to record any business transaction. Just we'll work on it. So to understand that, we'll see basic transaction creation process. Okay, when I talk about basic transaction creation, if you are going to create any transaction very meaningful way, what we have to do is first we have to just provide the date, on which date we are recording the transaction. Then we have to provide the description of the transaction, particulars. So transaction description. Okay, fine. So then we have to provide the any transaction. What are the transaction we are entering? The transaction description. The third point is in every transaction we'll be entering the amount. Okay. So these three elements are very important when we are recording any business transactions. To create the any business transaction in the system, including these three elements. Okay. Okay. Just one second. Madhukar, I hope you can see this screen now. Okay. So these three elements are very important. First one is date. The second one is transaction description. The third element is amounts. In every transaction, for every transaction, we have to provide the date, description, and amounts. So when we are going to provide the date in the system, what we have to do is to create the date, to maintain the dates information in the system, we have to create the calendar. We have to create the calendar. Within the calendar, we can have all the periods, and for each periods, we can maintain the date range. To create the calendar in the system, first what we have to consider, we are going to create the calendar for which country. Okay, so in every transaction we have to capture the date. If you want to capture the date for every transaction, the transaction we are recording on which date, and the transaction is belongs to which period. If you want to track that information, we have to maintain the calendar. Within the calendar we can maintain all the periods and respective dates, so that when you have a calendar in the system, by using the calendar you can capture the date for each and every transaction. Again, the date will belongs to particular period also. Okay, so now to create the calendar, what we have to do is first we have to understand the calendar we are going to create for which country. Based on country we have to create the calendar in the system. Okay, what base we have to create the calendar? Take simple example. So for India, financial year starts with, so 1st April. The current financial year, we'll take current financial year 16, and 2, it ends with 31st March 2017. Okay, this is a current financial year. And if you take example of US, okay, I'm talking about financial year, country financial year. Okay, for US it starts 1st Jan. What is the current financial year for US? 1st Jan 2000. We are in the financial year of 2016 to it ends 31st December 2016. If you take example India financial year and US financial year, so here the difference is India financial year is starting in 2016 and ending in the 2017. But when you look into US financial year, it's starting in and ending in the same year. If any country financial year is starting in one year and ending in the another year, that type of year or financial year we call as fiscal year. I'm not calling as physical calendar, just year. What is year type is physical year. Okay, and here for US, the financial year is starting and ending in the same year. This kind of year we can call as calendar year. Okay, here the point we have to understand is to capture the date for any business transaction in the system, we require calendar. If you want to create the calendar, first you have to understand, okay, for which country. First, we are based on which country we are going to create the calendar. We just that point we have to take into consideration. When we are going to create the calendar, we have to understand the country financial year is starting and ending in the same year, and start or else it is starting in one year and ending in the other year. We have to understand that point. If any financial year is starting in one year and ending in the other year, that year type is we call as physical year. Okay, that comes under physical year. And if country financial year is starting in one year and ending in the same year, that type of year we call as calendar year. Finally, here we can understand the point as we have two type of years. Basically, we have two type of years. We have two type of years. Okay, we have two type of years. When we are going to create the calendar, the first point we have to understand which year type we have to use for that country. Okay, which year type you have to use for the country. Based on the country financial year, you can choose the particular year type. Say if you are going to create the calendar for India, definitely you have to use the year type as a physical. And if you are creating the calendar for US, you have to use the year type as a calendar year. If you are going to create for some other country, what we have to understand that country financial year is starting in one year, starting and ending in the same year or different years. This point we have to understand. Based on that, simply we can select year type. Okay, so to create the any calendar in the system, first we have to understand which year type we have to use. The year type you can choose select based on the country financial year. Here we are not discussing the which financial year starts in April ends in the March, that we call as a physical year. We are not discussing that point. That year financial year can start in any period and it can end in the next year of any period. That kind of situation will be taken as a physical year. Done. Once we identify which year type you have to use for the calendar, whatever you are going to create in the system, the second point you have to understand period types. Okay, second point is period types. To create the calendar, okay, to create the calendar, so we have to identify which period types we want to use in our calendar. So when we talk about period type, so we can have a periods as a daily period or weekly period or monthly period or quarterly, hourly, yearly, or uh, we can have some custom periods also as per our business requirement. So first point what we have to do is we have to identify which year type we have to use. That always depends on the country financial year. Based on country financial year, we can choose the physical or calendar year. The second point, to create the calendar, we should know which period type we have to use for the client. So here the point is we have a different type of periods. It can be daily or weekly. If you take example of a financial organization, generally banks and all, they'll be using the period type as a daily. If you take normal businesses, all the businesses will be using the period type as a monthly. Okay, they may do the reporting, okay, and all based quarterly base or hourly base or whatever the base for their business transactions, and they'll be using the period type as a monthly. So here, what are the period type you require for the account, for the calendar, whatever you are creating? For that we have to decide which period type is required. Okay, general will be using monthly. So monthly. So once you are ready with this year type and period type, then you can create the calendar. The calendar only we call as accounting calendar. When you are creating the calendar, the system, that we call as accounting calendar. Okay, that means if accounting calendar is there in the system, okay, if you have accounting calendar, if you have accounting calendar in the system, you'll be able to capture the date when you are recording the business transaction. How we'll be creating the accounting calendar in the system? Anyway, we'll be doing in the system. Before that, just for understanding how we'll be creating, just if you take example of physical year calendar for India, okay, what we'll be doing is just we'll be taking, we'll be creating like this. So for India, just I'm going to write here. So it should start from April. So we'll be creating, say, April 16, sorry, April 2016. So format is not accepted. Okay, we'll give the period name as April 16, and for this we'll be giving the date range, when it starts and when it ends. Okay, that date range will be giving. So say when April starts, from when, just 1st April 2016, and this ends the 30th April 2016, and the same way May 16, and the date range will be mentioning. Okay, we can mention 1st May 16. This month ends with 31st May 16. Okay, so this is how we can create the accounting calendar in the system, so that whenever we are going to create any business transactions, so you'll be able to select the transactions belongs to which period, again in particular period, on which date you are recording the transaction. This information you can capture in the system. Okay, so to capture the date in the system, we require accounting calendar. To create the accounting calendar, what points we have to consider? The first one is which year type you require and which period type you require. Okay, based on these 2 points, you can create the accounting calendar. Okay, so these are the points we have to understand when we are going to create the accounting calendar in the system. Let's take example, we are going to create the accounting calendar for India. So definitely we'll be taking the year type as physical, and we'll take the period type as a, say, monthly. So when you take period type as monthly, how many periods we can create in the accounting calendar? When you say monthly, we'll be having the 12 periods. But system, in the system we have a flexibility. Even if you are going to create the period type as a monthly, you will be able to create more than 12 periods. So why we require more than 12 periods? Generally, we'll have only 12 periods in financial year. Why we are going to create more than 12? The reason is when we are closing the books in the end of the year, if you want to record any adjustment entries, instead of entering those entries in the actual periods, you can enter those adjustment entries in the separate period. That period you can call as adjusting period. Okay, that is nothing but additional period. If you are going to create accounting calendar with the 12 periods, say from April to March, okay, this will be 12. Apart from this, if you want to have additional period, yes, you can create it. That period we call as adjusting period. Basically, adjusting periods will use to record the adjustment entries when we are closing the books end of the financial year. So that purpose we can have a adjusting period as per your business requirement. How many adjusting periods you require, you can create. Okay, that you may create one or two or three, or else you can have in the year ending, or else in mid of the year also you can have a adjusting period, or else in the beginning of the year also you can have adjusting periods. That all depends on when and what purpose you want to just process the adjustment entries in the respective periods, that can be decided. Okay, so just this is the point we have to understand when you talk about date. And now we'll talk about amount. Well, after discussing about amount, then we'll come to transaction description part. Fine. So if you have any points to raise on this discussion, just you can raise your question.
Uh, and Srini
Yeah,
here.
yeah, Srini. Srini, I'm
Uh,
getting a lot of noise. Please.
Hold on.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, is it okay now?
Yeah, now I guess okay. Please.
Okay. See, my question is, these calendars, when you say you are setting up for primary ledger or secondary ledger?
No, that we'll discuss
It's for,
later. Don't look for that point. That we'll discuss when we are
okay.
working on that. You'll be getting that.
Okay, got it.
Now, only the point is how to create the calendar, what key points we have to consider while we are creating the calendar. Okay, when we are discussing
Okay.
about the primary and other things, definitely we'll discuss that point. This can be, or else for to answer your question, this can be used for anyone. Just I'm talking about how to create the calendar. I'm not talking about for what we are creating.
Sure.
Yep. Any other questions?
And it can be not necessarily start and end date of the month, right? The starting date can be some companies, they follow 445 fiscal week also, right, as a month.
Yes. So that
Okay.
depends. See, this is purely not as per the company. It's a purely as per the country how they will be having the period dates. Okay, fine. So
Okay.
the
Because in GE they follow first month and second month of the quarter as 4 week period, and the third month of the quarter as a 5 week period. So
okay,
yeah.
yeah. But when they are creating the calendar, this is how they have to create, and that can be used. Whatever you are telling, that can be used in their internal process reporting and other aspects. But this is purely we have to create this calendar based on the country financial year. Okay, the every country the final when you talk about financial year and all, that should start in the first and it will be ending in the last date of month only. The same we have to follow. The other practices and all internally you can have a different representation to do the reporting and all. And again, in kind of SCM, supply chain management, inventory point of view, also you'll be having the different practice of whatever you are talking about. But when you are going to create the accounting calendar, so just you have to follow the country financial year. It's not how the company want to maintain. Okay, just we have to follow the country financial year. And what are the period when it starts, when it ends, and when the period starts and when the period ends. Okay, when the year starts and when year ends, the same practices we have to follow. Those will be fixed. Okay, so that's all about date. To capture the date in any transaction, we require accounting calendar. For that, we have to identify which year type is required out of 2 year types, physical or a calendar. Then once you identify the year type, then you have to finalize with the period types. So it can be monthly or weekly, however you require, you can decide on that. Once you are clear on these 2 points, then you can go and create the accounting calendar. How we can create the accounting calendar, just for your understanding, this is how just I am giving information. Anyway, we'll create in the system how to create the, we'll see how to create the calendar in the system. Just for information, we'll give the period and when the period starts and ends. This is how we'll be giving the information. So along with this, if you go with the period type called as monthly, so total will have a 12 periods. But in the system, you can have a additional periods also. Those additional periods you can call as adjusting periods. Adjusting periods. These adjusting periods we can use to record the business transaction, to record the adjustment transactions in end of the year when we are closing the books. Okay, so this is the point we have to understand here. Okay, now we'll talk about amounts. When you are recording any transaction, it's a mandatory how to specify the transaction or that value, like whatever you are purchasing or whatever you are selling, you have to specify with the amounts. What is the volume of the purchase and payment in terms of monetary value, we have to write in that. So when you talk about amounts and all, say for example, I'm going to write the amount as I say 10,000 and 20,000, 30,000, or I'll say 500. So if I ask you the question, what is this 10,000, what is this 20,000, and what is 5,000, 500? What could be your answer? Anyone? See, the question is what is 10,000, what is 20,000, what is the 500? What is your answer to this question, please? Anyone? It's not a big question. A simple question, just what is this 10,000, 20,000, or 500 and 500? What exactly these?
Transaction amount?
Sorry?
Transaction amount or?
Yeah, you are saying transaction amount. Any other answer?
Maybe balance?
Okay, maybe balance. Anything else? Yeah, whatever you said, that can be, that may be correct, may not be correct. Reason, it can be anything because we are not specifying what this is. We are not specifying whether this is just amounts or not. Okay, we are not writing anything. If you write 10,000, so there is no information which says this 10,000 is so and so. There is no measurement for this 10,000 or 20,000 or 500. I can write this 10,000 is INR. Now I can understand these are 10,000 rupees. Now this 20,000 I can write as USD. Now I can say $20,000. Here 500 I can say marks. Okay, marks, that's all. Now we got some information what exactly these figures are. So 10,000 is 10,000 rupees, 20,000 is $20,000, 500 it's not a currency, those are say marks or square feet or some other measurements. Okay, if you look into this point, say for example we are doing the business in India. Say for example we are doing the business in India. In that case, what would be the local currency for India? INR. So when you are running the business in India, the India local currency is INR. So whatever the country local currency, that currency we call as functional currency. Okay, wherever you are operating the business in that country, whatever the currency you have as a local currency, that simply you can call as functional currency. Here, why I am writing as INR as functional currency? I'm taking example. We are running the business in India, so India local currency is INR. So INR currency we call as functional currency. And if you are not running the business in US, okay, So, and if you are going to record any transaction in USD, that currency will become foreign currency for us. When we are running the business in India, INR is local currency, so IN local currency we are calling as functional currency. When we are running the business in India, and if you are going to record the USD transaction in our books, that is not going to be in our local currency, that is going to be foreign currency. Okay, that we call as foreign currency. And this 500, the system point of view, you have to name this 500 also. It can be marks or whatever it may be, with a representation of currency only. Take example, this 500 can be marks or kilograms or meters, centimeters or square feet or liters, or it can be anything. It can have any measurement. Okay, you can represent the 500 or any other figures also with the different measurements. But here when you look into these measurements, okay, uh, see here, these are all different measurements. So this INR is currency measurement, rupees is currency measurement, here USD means dollars currency measurement. But when you talk about marks are not related to current currency measurements. That means INR USD comes under monetary value, right? INR and USD or GBP or AED or whatever the other currencies, okay, all comes under currency measurements, all comes under monetary measurements. And when you talk about these marks or kilograms, square feet or liters, millimeters, all these comes under non-monetary measurements. If you are going to have any value with non-monetary measurements, okay, all these non-monetary measurements simply you can call as statistical information, right? These marks or kilograms, liters, square feet all comes under statistical information. So if you are going to record any statistical related amounts in the system, statistical value in the system, that we have to treat as a stat currency. From statistical will be taking the prefix as a stat, that will be naming as finally currency wise stat currency. Fine. So this is what we have to understand when you talk about currencies. So if you are going to write any amounts in the system in any transaction, when you are recording any transaction, the system will be entering the amounts. Whatever the amounts you are entering against the transaction, the amounts can be anything. The amount can be your local currency. Local currency means that amount can be functional currency. The amount can be in the functional currency, or else whatever the amounts you are entering in your business transaction, the amounts can be in foreign currency, or else the amounts may not be belongs to functional currency. The amount can belongs to stat currency also. Stat is nothing but statistical measurements will be calling as a stat currency. Just for your information, try to understand whenever you are going to record any transaction, what are the amounts you are entering in the transaction, that amounts can falls under functional currency balances or foreign currency balances or stat currency balances. Okay, so this is the point we have to understand. So to understand the point, basically we have three type of currencies. Those three are these. Okay, we have three type of currencies. Okay, we have three type of currencies. These are the three type of currencies. When you're recording the business transaction, the amount should fall under functional or foreign or stat currency. That's all. That means when you're recording any business transaction, the amounts whatever you're entering, you have to specify the amount is in which currency. Once you specify the currency, that can be your functional or foreign or stat. Function is nothing but country local currency. Foreign currency is nothing but other than local currency. All currencies will treat as foreign currencies. Okay, so other than functional and foreign, what are the other statistical measurements we have? Okay, other than currency, what are the non-monetary measurements we have? All non-monetary measurements which we call as statistical information, those all we can treat as per our system as a stat currency. Reality, that is not at all currency, but in the system will be treating as a stat currency when you are doing any process in the system which is related to that kind of statistical information. Okay, so this is all about, we have to understand the we have to understand about currency. These are the points we have to understand about the currency. Okay, date we discussed. To capture the date in the system, we have to create the accounting calendar. For that we have to decide on year type and period type. Then we can have adjusting periods also. Then when you are recording the amounts in the transaction, the amount is belongs to which currency, that also we have to specify. That can be functional or foreign or stat currency. Okay, done. Now we'll talk about description. We'll talk about description. Say you purchase computers. Okay, you purchase one laptop. So when you purchase one laptop in the organization, if you are going to write just purchased one laptop, that is not detailed information at all. So there should, we have to record in the very detailed manner. So, say for example, you are purchasing that laptop for which company you are purchasing. Again, within the company, you are purchasing for which department. Again, within the department, what exactly you are purchasing. That is nothing but account, laptop purchase. And again, you might be doing some projects. So that again, that is required for which project you are purchasing that laptop. And again, the transaction is happening in which location. Or else if you want to track some other information also as a part of transaction, that also you have to include as a transaction description. That means, say for example, your requirement is in every transaction you want to capture the company. So you want to capture in every transaction you want to capture with the company, means the purchases or sales are belongs to which company you want to capture. And again, the transaction is belongs to within the company for which department, the transaction belongs to which department. Okay, and again the transaction comes under which account, sales or purchase. If sales, which sales, purchase means which purchases, which account. Again, you might be tracking each and every transaction that is belongs to which project, whatever you are doing in your company. And you may want to track in which location this transaction is happened. So this is, I say, like, this is how you want to capture every business transaction, whatever you are going to record in your books. So I'm going to record a transaction called as computer purchase. So I'll be capturing the data on which date I just did the purchase, and again for which company, and again within the company for which department, and which account that is. Okay, computer purchase means we will be using the computer purchase account. And again, that purchase is you are doing for which project within your organization. If you have a requirement of capturing each and every expense against the project, will be selecting the project. Then again, that is happening in which location also you can capture. If you want to capture this all the information when you are recording the transaction, you have to maintain all this information in the system as a predefined information. Okay, you have to maintain all this information as a predefined information. Okay, predefined values. So companies, I can say we have a company called as company A. So just for example, company B, company C, and company D. Okay, or else if you take example, okay, just a company, let's take company name as Tata Group. Okay, group name is Tata Group. Here the companies can be TCS, and here Tata Telecommunications, Tata Telecommunications, Tata Steel, say Tata Motors. Okay, Tata Motors. Say for example, these are the four companies who are running the business. Say Tata is running the business with these four entities, and they'll be having the multiple departments. Say they have HR department, finance department, and marketing department. Say sales department, say R&D department. So how many departments they have across these four companies, all you can list out here. And again all the accounts. Okay, what are the activities they do, with which accounts they will be capturing in the system or in their books, that you have to list out. Just for example, you will take say account called as salaries account, some say something like some purchases. It can be a number of different accounts we can have which purchase and all. Just I'm taking high level purchase account. Okay, and sales account, some expense account. So this is how you can maintain n number of accounts based on the business activities the company is doing. Here projects also. Okay, if the projects are applicable, whatever you are doing, that you can write the project name, maybe R&D project. And other project maybe say advertising project. This is whatever the projects they are dealing, all they can have as a the different project names they can have under this project title, and where they are operating the business, that also you can list out. Say they are operating the business in Hyderabad, say Bangalore, say Delhi. Okay, this is how you can list out all the locations. So if you maintain all the information, what what are the different companies we have under the group, and we across all the companies, what are the different departments we have in the we have, and what are the okay, what are the different accounts they have when they're recording their business transactions, and how many projects they are running, and in which locations they are running the, and in which locations they are running their business. If you maintain all this information in the system, what happens is when user is going to record the transaction, simply they can select these values and they can record the transaction. Otherwise, if you don't maintain all this information as a predefined information in the system, what happens is every time the user has to write the values, the company name, every time they have to write as TCS or else Tata Telecommunications, and every time they have to write the transaction belongs to which department, which account, which project, which location. When they're writing, definitely they can come up with some just typo mistakes and all. Okay, typo errors and all. So in that case, that will become big issue and all, right? So instead of doing that duplication of work, where whenever they are recording the transaction, instead of going and entering every time in the system, one time they can maintain all this information in the system. Every time whatever the user is going to record the business transaction at that time, simply they can pick those values and they can record the transaction in the system. For that reason, what we have to do is, so here just simple point I'll give you, I'll add one more point. Say company 1 is TCS, company 2 is Tata Telecommunications, company 3 is Tata Steel, company 4 is Tata Motors, department 1 is HR department, 2 is finance, 3 is marketing, fourth one is sales, fifth one is R&D account, salaries account number 1, purchases account number 2, this is the third, and fourth project. First project 1 is R&D, 2 means advertising, locations 1 means Hyderabad, 2 means Bangalore, 3 means Delhi. Okay, so this is how you can maintain all the information in the system based on how many companies, how many departments, how many accounts, projects, and location the company is operating their business. When we have this information is ready in the system, when you are going to record any transaction as a part of discussion, simply you can record the transaction like this. So I'm going to record the transaction for company 1 TCS, then I can enter 1, then dot, So this transaction belongs to a department called as finance department. Simply I can select the value as a 2. 2 means department. And what we are doing, we are spending some expense. Expense account number is 4. And project. Say this expense belongs to advertising project. So I'll be selecting 2. Again, this activity we are doing in Hyderabad. So select 1. So this is how I can select that codes. So I can select company code, department code, account code, project code, location code. If all companies, departments, account, projects, locations are predefined in the system, so we no need to write every time TCS or Tata Steel or Motors. So we can maintain all this information in the system. So in the system environment, when you are going to record the transaction, simply you can take those codes as a part of the description. By seeing 1, I can understand, okay, TCS. By seeing that 2, I can understand department is finance department. By seeing 4, we can understand, so they are doing this expense. And by seeing 2, I can understand that is advertising. And by seeing this 1, we can understand Hyderabad. That means the company called as TCS. Okay, within the TCS company, finance department is spending some expense against the advertising project in Hyderabad location. This is how we can capture the detailed level of description for each and every transaction. For that reason, we have to maintain this information in the system in this way. Now, these all companies comes under which group? So the group company name. This all information. These companies, departments, accounts, project, locations are belongs to which group company? Say that is Tata Group. Okay, done. So we have a Tata Group. Within the Tata Group, we have a company's departments, accounts, projects, and location. All the information we are maintaining in the system. So if we are going to maintain this the same way, means under Tata Group we have all these, under all these definitions, all these departments, companies, accounts, projects, locations we have. The same information if we are going to create in our system, in our Oracle application. So what are the titles? These all we can say titles. This is a title for all companies. This is the title for all the departments. This is the account title for to specify all the accounts. And this is the title for what are the projects we have. Means these all we can consider as the titles. So these titles, as per our Oracle application, will be calling as a segments. Segments means the company data we are doing the segmentation. We are doing the segmentation means we are separating the data, saying that this is company data, this the total data is this data is departments data, this is accounts data, this is project data, this is location data. That's how we are segregating. That segregation, what are the title we are giving, that we call as segment. Okay, these all which are in blue color as a titles, simply as per our system. As per system, the term you can say naming convention is segments. Each one we treat as one segment. Okay, this is a company segment, this is a department segment, so this is account segment, this is a project segment, this is a location segment. So under company segment, what we have? Companies we have. As per system, this under company segment, what are the information we have, that we call as company segment values. Simple point. Under segment, what are the information we have, that we call as segment values. Okay, the titles we are calling as the segments. Under titles, what are the information we have, that simply we call as segment values. Fine. This total information belongs to Tata Group. So when you are going to create the name called as Tata Group, okay, this Tata Group, okay, name companies we are calling as, I mean all the titles we are calling as segments. Under titles, what are the information we have, that we are calling as segment values. Okay, this all the information belongs to Tata Group. The Tata Group simply will be creating the system as an organization structure. Okay, simply say the name will be giving as a organization structure. Sorry. Organization structure. Nothing but organization structure is nothing but the company name, group company name, and segments are nothing but what is the classification of data we have, and under classification of data, what are the information we have will be calling as a segment values. This is what we have to understand. Okay, so this total information belongs to Tata Group. What are the company name you are writing for the total information, group name you are writing, that as per system we call as organization structure. Under organization structure, what we have? We have segments. Under segments, what we have? We have segment values we have. Okay, let me just draw this system. So here, okay, simple point. So if you just refer this, Tata Group. Tata Group is nothing but whatever the name for which company you are doing this implementation and all. So the company name, whatever you're writing, simply will treat as a organization structure. So you can treat as a organization structure. Fine. Under organization structure, what we'll have? We'll have a segments. We'll have segments. Okay. We have segments. Under segment, for each segment, we'll have a segment values. Values. We'll have a segment values. Okay. So when we are going to maintain this information, how many companies we have, how many departments we have, how many accounts, project, location we have, this is how we have to maintain. First, we have to give our group company name as a organization structure. Under that, which information you are going to maintain by classifying, that you have to create as a segments. Under each segment, you have to create the segment values. This we call as organization structure. These are nothing but segments. How many segments we require, we can create. Under each segment, how many companies or departments accounts you have in your business, those will be writing, that we will be calling as segment values. This we have to maintain in a hierarchy. Okay, this we have to maintain hierarchy, means we'll have a organization structure. Under organization structure we can have segments. Under segment we'll have a segment values. So to create all these, in the system, to create all these in the system, we have one future. By using one future in the system, we can create organization structure, nothing but group company name we can write, and we can write the segments, nothing but titles for the which information we are going to maintain, which you can be used in the transaction process, and the detailed information you can maintain as a segment values. To create organization structure, under organization structure segments, and the segment values, we have one feature in the application called as, okay, accounting key flexi field. Accounting key flex field. Okay, we have one feature called as accounting key flex field. By using accounting key flex field, we can create the organization structure. Under the organization structure, we can create the segments. Under segments, we can create the segment values. So this accounting key flex field we have in which application? This accounting key flex field we have within the general ledger application. Okay, this accounting key flex field we have within the general ledger application, Oracle general ledger. So the short name is GL. Okay, this is the point we have to understand here. Okay, we have application called as Oracle General Ledger. Within Oracle General Ledger, we have a feature called as, okay, accounting key flex field. Okay, so by using accounting key flex field, sorry, by using accounting key flex field, we can create the organization structure, and under the organization structure we can create the segments, and under segments we can create the segment values. Okay, this is how just you can understand. We have a general ledger application. Within the general ledger application we have accounting key flex field. By using this accounting key flex field, you can create this organization structure, segments and segment values. These organization structure and segment values, this combination simply we call as, okay, we call it as chart of accounts. Chart of accounts. Okay, chart of accounts. Chart of account is nothing but the combination of organized structure, segment values all put together we call as chart of accounts. If you want to record any business transaction, okay, if you have a chart of accounts information with us, simply we can record, because within the chart of accounts we are going to have all segments and do segment values information. Okay, so we can create the chart of account by using accounting key flex field feature, which is a part of Oracle General Ledger. So now the point is to record, say here, this transaction description. The transaction description you can write by using the chart of accounts. With the help of chart of accounts, you can write the transaction description. Right? That means to capture the date, we require calendar, and to write the transaction description, what we require? Chart of accounts. The chart of accounts we can maintain all the company's departments accounts, locations or project, whatever the information you want to track as a part of transaction, everything you can maintain. Every time when you are recording the transaction, simply you can select that information and you can write the detailed level of description for each and every transaction. And whatever the amount we are entering in the transaction, that we have to specify with the currency. That currency can be any currency. Here we discussed, it can be functional or foreign or stat currency. That means to create any business transaction in the system, what we require? Date, description and amounts we have to specify. Now already we discussed, the final point is, simple point is, you can say to record any business transaction we require accounting calendar. We require accounting calendar which will support to capture the dates. We require accounting calendar, and we require currency. What are the amounts we are entering? The amounts need to be specified with the currency. So we require, we have to specify the currency. And to write the detailed description of the transaction, we require chart of accounts. Okay, by using these three components, accounting calendar, currency and chart of accounts, you can record the business transactions in GL, General Ledger application. If you want to record any business transaction General Ledger application, we require these three components: accounting calendar, currency and chart of accounts. Okay, so the actual name in the system will see as accounting calendar, but simply you can here for understanding we can take as a calendar. So we require calendar to capture the date, to specify the amounts we require currencies, and to write the description of the transaction we require chart of accounts. By using these three components, we can create the transaction in General Ledger application. Other than General Ledger application, we have some other applications also. Already we discussed. Those are accounts payables, account receivables, fixed assets, purchasing, order management, inventory. There are many other applications. If you want to record any business transaction in those applications, okay, if you want to record any business transaction within the general ledger application, these three components are enough. These three components are enough. And if you want to record any transaction other than general ledger application, any other application, along with these three components, we require one more component called as accounting method. Okay, along with these three components, we require one more component called as accounting method. If you have these four components, by using these four components, you can record the transactions in payables, receivables, and fixed assets and purchasing order management. Other than GL, all other applications we call as sub ledger applications. Okay, GL is general ledger. Other than general ledger, all other applications we call as sub ledger applications. Because in GL we can have all the data where we'll be getting the data from all other applications. So other applications we call as sub ledger application. GL, that's always general ledger. Okay. So to record the business transactions GL, we require these three components. If you want to record the transaction in other applications also, like payables, receivables, and all, along with these three, we require the fourth one also. If you notice here, calendar is starting with the C, currency is starting with the C, and chart of account also is starting with the C. But here it is starting with the A. What Oracle says is, just when you are taking this logic and all, just ignore this A and you consider this next one is C. Now instead of saying we require calendar, currency, chart of account, accounting method, simply you can say to record any business transactions in our system, we require these four C's: 1, 2, 3, and this third. The fourth one is this C. Four C's. Okay, four C's. Four C's means calendar, currency, chart of account, and accounting method. For accounting method, there are some other naming convention also, technically conversions. Okay, so that is the purely technical part. Just simple, try to understand this point on the accounting method. The same you can call it as subledger accounting method also. You can call it as accounting method or subledger accounting method. Okay, by using these four C's: calendar, currency, chart of accounts, accounting method. Once you create these four C's in the system will allow you to record the transaction, general ledger application or any other application. Any application in Oracle, you will be able to record the transactions by using these four C's. By grouping these four C's, by using these four C's, what we can do is you can create the primary ledger. What you can create? You can create the primary ledger. The short name is PL. How to create the primary ledger? By grouping calendar, currency, chart of accounts, accounting method, or subledger accounting method. By using these four components, we can create the primary ledger. In other words, you can say these four definitions, four components as a four C's. Okay. Now simply you can say by using the primary ledger, we can record the business transactions in the system. Okay. By using the primary ledger, we can record the transactions in the system. That's all. So when we are going to work on these four components, basically calendar we have to create. Currencies we don't need to create, all currencies are available in the system. Which currency you want to use, that currency you can go and select it. It's all about, we have to enable it. We have to activate that currency so that you can use in your business transaction process. And chart of accounts anyway we have to create as per our requirement. And accounting method, it's available in the system. That means out of four components, how many components we have to create? Calendar and chart of accounts. Currency, just you can go and enable and you can use it. Accounting method, the predefined one by Oracle that you can use to record the business transactions. To understand more about this accounting method, just what we'll do is we'll wait till we'll start working on the payables and other application. At that time we'll discuss on that, because this is required only in the payables. Okay, what is the purpose we'll be using and all will be discussing detail level. But if you want to understand very high level, the simple point, within this accounting method there will be all accounting rules. Say for example, when you create the invoice and accounts payables, system has to create which accounting entry, which account should get debited, which account should get credited, and again within the payables from where the accounting entries need to be taken. Okay, from where system has to derive the debit account and to credit accounts. All the rules are predefined within the accounting method. For payables, receivables, cash management, fixed assets, purchasing, order management, for all the applications, within this accounting method, rules are predefined. Okay, so that's how it works. We'll just focus on this when you are working on payables application, then it will be easy for you to understand. For now, to understand how to create the primary ledger, first we have to create the calendar. Then currency we don't need to create, just we have to go and enable it which currency we require in the system. Coming to chart of accounts, already we discussed how to create the chart of accounts. Okay, we'll go to general ledger application. Within the general ledger application we have a feature called as accounting key flex field. Within the accounting key flex field we can create our chart of accounts. To create the chart of account, first we have to create the organization structure. It is nothing but group company name. Under group company, how you want to classify the company related data as a company's departments, accounts, projects and location. That's how you can classify. That you can classify by using the concept called as segments. So how many companies, how many departments, accounts, projects, location you have, all you can maintain as a segment values. This collection of these 3 points, the combination of this organization structure, segment values all put together we call as chart of accounts, right? So this is how we'll be creating the chart of account as per requirement. When you talk about accounting method or sub-ledger accounting method, this is a predefined one in the system. When we are going to record the business transactions, okay, you can use this. Before you, if you want to use this one, what we have to do is we have to create the primary ledger. By taking these 4 C's, we'll create the primary ledger. Then we can record the business transactions in the system. Okay, so this is a point you have to understand. If you have any queries on this discussion, please. Okay, please raise your questions if you have anything. Any questions? Srinivas, Madhukar, Nitish, Shiva. Any questions, please?
Sir, just show the Excel sheet.
Yeah. Yes, I open this. Just I'll scroll.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah. Only one question I have.
Yes.
You mentioned as a Tata Group, right? Tata Group is the head of the company, and under that TCS, Telecommunication, Tata Steels are the branches of the company, right?
Yeah, subsidiaries or else
Subs.
different entities.
Okay. I want to ask one more question in that, like we have mentioned Tata, TCS, and second is Tata Telecommunication.
Yeah.
For that, individually we'll have the departments, or overall we can take in this.
Overall, you can take. If I create HR, the HR department can be used by any company. You don't need to go with a duplication for each and every company. One value
Okay.
can used across the different companies. That can be possible.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, fine. Any other questions from anyone? So this is very important to understand.
And one more in the currencies also. Go up once.
Okay. Yeah.
We have taken here three like functional.
Madhukar, we are getting a bit noise and all. If any possibility, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, somewhat better.
Here individual currencies, when we are marking to particular company, we can take that.
Individual Means I didn't get your question.
I mean to say we have mentioned functional currency, foreign currency, and start currency, right?
Yes.
So out of this the 1,000 and 10,000 and 20,500 we have mentioned right here.
Yes.
Are these the code or?
No, that amounts are entered. 10,000
I mean,
rupees.
I mean to say for particular transaction, if you wanted to select any of the currency out of the foreign currency, that can be deducted from that foreign currency type, right?
Deducted not. See, simple. When you are recording the transaction, you will be entering some amount, right? The amount is
Yeah,
in
yeah,
which currency you have to select. That is the point. So
yeah. Got it.
you created on transaction, you entered 100. 100 is what? INR or USD or something else. That will be entering. That can be INR or USD or GBP or etc. AED or anything. So if that currency,
Okay.
whatever you are entering, that is local currency, means you have to understand that currency is your functional currency. So other than
Okay.
that country currency, whatever the currency related transactions are entering, that all comes under foreign currency transactions.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that is
Okay.
a,
Got it.
yeah, that's it.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other points,
Thank you.
please?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So any other questions? Because these points are very very important, we have to understand straight away. If we are going to work on the system, the understanding will be our understanding won't be good and all. So here before we start working on the system, if you get the idea like what purpose, how we have to create, how will be just doing in the system, then it will be easy for us when we are working on the system. That's the reason just I'm explaining, I'm giving all these points. If you have any other questions, please ask me, or else we'll just proceed to next step. Okay, done. Fine. Done. Now we have a primary ledger. Primary ledger is ready. By using the primary ledger, what we can do is we can record the business transactions. Okay, we can record the business transactions. Fine. So, for example, simple example, I have a board here. I have some kind of marker here. Now I have a marker. With a marker, can I write anything without having board? I should have a board, some space where I can use that marker to write something on board. So here there is some relation. Just by having only marker, you cannot write, you cannot use it. So to use that marker, you require board. If you are going to have only one, if you are going to have only board without having the marker, there is no use of that board. The same way, now whatever you have a primary ledger, you can just compare this primary ledger with this marker only. In this marker, with this marker, what we can do is, with this marker you can write anything. You can write anything. You can write any numbers or any language. You can write and all as per your skill and all. You can write anything. But when you look into this primary ledger, in the primary ledger we have only four components: calendar, currency, chart of account, and accounting method. Now we have primary ledger ready, which can be, which is ready to use. However, we'll have a marker ready to write anywhere. I have just marker, no use. The same way, if I'm going to have just this pen, okay, if I'm going to have just this primary ledger, there is no use and all in the system environment. Now, how, where we will be using this primary ledger and all, we'll try to understand now. Okay, so if you are going to have a marker, okay, yes, you can use it, but to use you require some board and all. If you have board, then only you can use this marker, so that you can utilize whatever the marker you have. If you don't have board, there is no scope of using this marker. Okay, the same way, you have a primary ledger. Within the primary ledger, you have a calendar, means dates. You have a currency, which can be specified against the transaction in terms of amounts, and chart of accounts. Within this, you have all your company, department, account, location, projects, etc. And accounting method, we have a rules, okay, which are predefined rules by Oracle when you are recording the transaction in the subledger applications, say payables, receivables, and all. So this is the concept. By having just marker, you cannot use it, you require board also. Here also, by having just primary ledger, you cannot use this primary ledger to record the transactions. Where you have to record, that is required. You require some environment to record the transactions by using the primary ledger. However, we require environment called as board to use this marker. To understand this point, let's take simple, very generic example. Okay, I'll take simple example. Say for example, I'll take example of, say there is one hotel called as ABC Hotel. I have some problem with this keyboard and all. Okay, ABC Hotel. So this ABC Hotel will have their menu, right? The ABC Hotel will have their menu, the items. In that menu, the items will be classified, right? That those you may call as submenus. Within that menu, you may find the items as a veg, non-veg, cool drinks, and etc. Right? So you can have a, within the menu there will be classification called as non-veg, say veg, so drinks. And under non-veg we'll be having all the items. Fine. We'll talk about this. Okay, there is hotel called as ABC. In that we have menu, means in this hotel we have a menu. In menu, items are classified into veg, non-veg, and drinks. Okay, non-veg, veg, and drinks. Okay, done. So then you can have all these items and all. Okay, there is some hotel. Just we are taking simple example. There is a hotel called as ABC Hotel. In hotel we have a hotel menu. The menu consists of items. Again, the items are classified into veg, non-veg, and drinks. Okay. Now tell me, what is the purpose the items are classified into veg or non-veg and drinks? It's a very simple question. Anyone can answer, please. Can anyone can answer this?
To easily categorize in terms of selection.
Yeah, to identify easily, right? If those items
Yeah.
are not classified, you have to start reading one by one. What are the items you require? That may be in the end of the menu. So if you classify, being a customer, easily we can go to that relevant classification, and within that, if I just want to choose non-veg, I can go to the respective classification. Easily I can select and I can give the order. Okay, done. So that is the
Yeah.
purpose they classified. Now, okay, we have all these items under non-veg, veg, and drinks. Now, how we can have get these items to have? What we have to do after just going to hotel? We'll take the menu. We'll look into the sub-classification of non-veg, veg, drinks, and all, etc. Then finally, if you want to get items into your plate, what we have to do? It's a mandatory. You have to give a order. It's very very important here for our discussion. So you have a hotel, they have a menu, they have a some sub menus called as non-veg, veg, drinks, and all. Everything is ready in the hotel. You are in the hotel. If you are not going to give any order, you won't get anything. So giving order is very very important. Okay, simple point. So to get some items, okay, the food items or anything to plate, we have to give the order. With the help of order only we can get the items into plate, then we can have it. The same logic same concept we have in our application also. So here I am taking hotel name as ABC Hotel. In the same way, equal to ABC Hotel, okay, we have a application. Take application as GL application. Take application name as GL application. Okay, here ABC Hotel. Hotel name is ABC. Here application name is GL, General Ledger. So here ABC Hotel has its own menu, right? In the same way, this General Ledger application also will have its own menu. Okay, the General Ledger application also will have their own menu. But ABC Hotel menu will consist of what? Food items. ABC Hotel will consist of food items. Okay, this menu consists of food items, right? But when you talk about the GL application menu, this menu just consists of features which are related to this GL application. This will consist of features. Okay, there is a hotel called as ABC Hotel. It consists of their own menu. The menu consists of food items. But when you talk about GL application, the GL application also will have their own its own menu, but within this menu will have a features. So this menu is classified into some sub menus: non-veg, veg, and drinks. In the same way here, this menu also will be classified into different sub menus. Just instead of writing the actual names and all, I am writing as a sub menu 1. Okay, sub menu 2. Okay, this is how just will be having our application menu also will be having this kind of sub menus. Fine. See the similarity. Okay, here we have ABC Hotel. Equal to that, similar to that, we have a GL application. ABC Hotel has their menu. Within that menu, you can have the hotel. What are the items the hotel is offering? That those food items you can have. The same way, in the general ledger application also will be having the menu. In that menu, you don't find any food items, right? We'll be finding features. For GL, general ledger application related all features we can find within the GL related menu. So here they classified those items into sub menus: non-veg, veg. These we can call as 3 sub menus within the main menu. So here also within the GL application, what are the features are available? Those are classified into different sub menus. Sub menu 1, 2, 3, 4 you can create. Okay, you can just maintain however you require. Okay, as per that application, however required, you can maintain that. So within this sub menus, what we have? We have items. We have food items. In the same way, the sub menus also will be having the features, but generally we call those as a functions. Those will be calling as functions. Okay, so these all are items, right? These all are, when you talk about hotel, these all are items. When you talk about this application, within the submenus, what we can have? We can have a functions, or call them as a features. Okay, in hotel you have items. If you want to get that items, what you have to do? You have to give a order. Without giving order, you cannot get even single item. In the same way, the application environment also, you have a application. For application you have a menu. The menu consists of submenus, and the submenus will be having the functions or features. Function or feature is nothing but form. Generally that function or feature will be represented with the particular form, the environment where we can record the transactions, the forms. So now if you want to have access to see here order, say we have many items as a non-veg, veg and drinks, but I want to get one item, non-veg item. What I have to do, I have to give the order to only that item, then I can get that item into my plate. The same way when you are working in the company, generally we cannot have some preference, I want to work on only that feature or function. As per your job there will be some assignment. So here in the menu one and menu one, say we have a 20 functions, and submenu 2, okay, submenu 1 we have a 20 features, and submenu 2 we have a 20 features, or else call them as functions. Total we have say 40 functions available under these two submenus, or else simply you can say within this menu we have a 40 functions. Being an application user, you need access to specific functions as per your role in the company. Okay, so that means you have to have access to specific functions to perform the work which is assigned to you within the application environment. If you have to say your job is you have to record the purchase invoices, or else you want to process the payments. To process the purchase, to create the purchase invoice or to process the payment, you require some form. The form can be offered by functions. That means now you need access to two functions. One function is invoice creation, second function is payment creation. So in the hotel case, by giving order you are getting whatever the items you require, but here how we will be getting the functions whatever you require. Okay, where for which functions you require access as per your role. To have access to specific functions or else features, or you can say for particular forms, here in the application environment we have one concept called as responsibility. Okay, we have a concept called as responsibility. Okay, we have a concept called as responsibility. With the responsibility what we can do is you can get access to specific functions, nothing but forms. With this order you can get the food items into your plate. With this responsibility within the application environment you can have access to specific forms. Just high level understanding, simple point just I'm giving in this way. It's nothing but responsibility will consist of some functions or features or forms. So I can create the responsibility by selecting specific functions, so that from this responsibility user can work on only those functions. If I give the order for 4 items, the customer can get only 4 items, and that customer can have or can get parcel of those only those 4 items. In the same way, so with the help of responsibility you can access to one or multiple functions which are available in particular application. Without order you cannot get anything in hotel. Without responsibility you cannot access to any function or any feature within the application environment. So if you want to get any food items in the hotel, the order is required. In the hotel if there are 1,000 items, if you want to get 1,000 items also you have to give order for 1,000 items. In the same way, in the application if you want to work on only one function, you have to create responsibility. Without responsibility you cannot work on one function also. And if you need 10 functions also, you have to create responsibility by selecting 10 functions. If you want to work on all the functions which are part of particular application also, we require responsibility. Okay, to access one or multiple or all functions related to particular application, we require responsibility. Without responsibility concept you cannot access to any application related features. Okay, this is the point we have to understand now. Okay, so now take the point earlier we discussed about primary ledger. Okay, so we discussed about primary ledger. So here I'm taking that example. Say have a concept class primary ledger, short name is PL, and say have a other object class responsibility. Say I'm creating one responsibility, say I'll call it a GL responsibility. Means from this responsibility you can have access to GL related features. So GL responsibility. Under any responsibility, it can be GL responsibility or payables responsibility, whatever the responsibility you have. Within the responsibility, what we can have? We can have access to some forms or functions or futures, anything you can call. Say, under this responsibility, say I'm going to have two, three, some three forms access. Okay. Now, within the responsibility, we have an environment called as forms where we can record the business transactions. But to record the business transaction, what we require? We require calendar, we require currency, we require chart of accounts, and we require subledger accounting method. Of course, for GL case it's not required, but just let's take as a simple point as it's a part of transaction. So within the GL responsibility, just we have empty forms. If you want to fill those forms to record the business transactions, we require calendar, currency, chart of account, and accounting method. Means simply you can say we require primary ledger. Now, this primary ledger definitely we require in this responsibility. If this primary ledger, if you are going to use, by using this primary ledger, you can record the transaction within these forms through this responsibility, right? So if you are going to have only primary ledger, no use. We require access to forms. By using the primary ledger, we have to record the transaction in the forms only. But responsibility consists of forms, but primary ledger consists of those four components: calendar, currency, chart of account. These two we have to put in one place so that those can be utilized. For that reason, what we have to do is to use calendar, currency, chart of account, and accounting method with the environment of GL responsibility within these forms. We have to assign this primary ledger to responsibility. What we have to do? We have to assign this primary ledger to responsibility so that within the primary ledger, whatever we have, those will be available within these forms so that user can record the business transaction in the particular forms. So this is the point we have to understand. How to assign and all we'll discuss when you are working on the system. Okay. So these are the points we have to understand how the functional, conceptual how things works and all. Okay, first we have to create the primary ledger, then we'll be creating the responsibility, we'll be assigning. In between we have some other points also need to be discussed and all. We'll see those points. So if you have any doubt on this, please raise your question. We can discuss. Just in this stage, for your understanding, I am saying the responsibility is nothing but the environment where we can have access to specific forms. But once we start working on, just I'll be explaining you the detail level along with the forms what we will be having within the responsibility environment. That would be clear for us once we start working. Before we just start working on these definitions and all, just take these points to understand about that concept, what exactly meaning of responsibility and all. Then it will be that will be changed later stages by adding some other points. If you have any doubts on this, please. Any questions? Fine. So if you don't have any question, then we'll just, yeah.
Sir, one question.
Please.
Sir, this
Yeah, please.
for GL responsibilities, whatever features and submenus we have to.
See, can you unmute? Because we are getting a lot of noise. So please don't mind, Madhukar. See, because we have other participants also, so it will become issue.
Sure. Now it's okay.
But we are getting still the same noise and all.
Yeah. I'll try to type well.
Yeah, please. No, you can ask me. No problem. Just ask me. Just you can. Please.
Yeah. For GL responsibilities, the functions and the features we have to arrange in the system.
No, those all are available.
Okay.
For every application, Oracle is giving some list of features, or you may call as functions. Generally, we call as functions. They're nothing but feature only. So whatever the few functions.
Setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, setup we have to do that, or predefined.
Setup predefined only. Everything is predefined. When we are creating our responsibility, we have to select them. We need access
Okay.
to which functions, just we have to group into that. That's all.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Any other question? Okay, fine. Okay, if you don't have any question, we'll just move on to next point. Now what we'll do is, fine, we'll discuss some points, other points to understand about this application and all. So when we are going to do the implementation for any client, if we are going to do implementation for any client, what happens is the client has to take the license from Oracle. The client has to take the license from Oracle. Once client will take the license from Oracle, the client will be getting some software from Oracle that can get installed in the server environment. That environment, in which environment we are going to, in the server environment, what are the applications we are going to have, that environment simply we call as instance. Okay, that environment we will call it as instance. Okay, the applications wherever we install, that environment we call as instance. So instance will consist of applications. Of course, every application will be connected with the database. Okay, although that would be there, but functional front, just what we have to understand, instance is nothing but environment where we can have the applications, the software environment, means whatever the software we are installing in the system server, that environment will be calling as instance. Within the instance we can have the different applications. We can have GL, general ledger, accounts payables, account receivables, cash management, fixed assets, okay, and payables, sorry, purchasing, order management, inventory. What are the applications you are going to implement for the client? Those all applications you can have. What are the applications Oracle is offering? All applications you can have in that instance, but finally will be implementing for which applications client taken the license. Okay, that environment we call as instance. When you get instance from Oracle, within that instance there won't be any sample data, okay, for our understanding and all. That instance will be fresh. When you get instance from Oracle, in that fresh instance, Oracle will be providing some seeded user credentials. Okay, some seeded means default username and password. When you buy the license from Oracle for this ERP product, so you can have a username and password called as, okay, there will be username for every instance. Whatever the software you are buying from Oracle, once you get installed in the server environment, that you can call as instance. For every instance there will be seeded username and password. Say the username is, for every instance there will be username called as sysadmin, and for every instance, okay, along with the username called as password, will have a user, along with the username will have a password also called as sysadmin only. Okay, fine. So for every instance, I'm sorry, sorry. So what we are discussing, just we'll have an instance. Instance is nothing but application environment. Once we get installed the product in the server environment, that environment only we call as instance. To access to that instance, by default Oracle is providing the username and password called as sysadmin. With these credentials you can log into the instance. Okay, and one more point here is, okay, fine, simple. One more point we'll discuss here. Okay, we got this instance, and we are going to use this instance to do the implementation for Tata company. Okay, Tata Group. So if you use this instance for Tata company, just for your understanding, just that instance we can start calling it as Tata instance also. If you are going to use this instance for other company, ABC company, you can call as ABC instance. The same way, now what we are going to do is, we have an instance. In that instance, what Oracle did is, they created some sample data by taking the company called as Vision. Okay, so if you have an instance where we done all the setups for the company called as Tata, you can call as Tata instance. The same way, now we have an instance Okay, in that instance there will be some sample data related to company called as vision. Just for demo purpose, Oracle is done some setups and implementation with the company name called as vision. In the vision there are different businesses: vision operations, vision services, vision projects, vision manufacturing. There are different line of businesses they have. Like they take an examples, like when we talk about Tata, uh, Tata Consulting Services, Tata Telecommunications, Tata Steel, Tata Plastic, Tata Motors. However, we have a different businesses within the Tata Group. In the same way, they take an example as a group company as a vision. Within that, they have vision operations as a one business, and they have a other business called as vision services. Okay, in the same way, vision manufacturing, etc., etc. They have many company definitions they created in the system. Okay, so since they given some sample data for the company called as vision, so that instance we can call as vision instance. Now for our training purpose, whatever the instance we are going to use, that instance we call as vision instance. But when we are working, whatever the instance we'll see, that is the fresh instance. What is the difference between the fresh instance and the vision instance? In vision instance you can have some sample data. In the fresh instance you won't have any sample data. Everything we have to create. Now just for sake of just this training and all, we are going to use as a vision instance, but we are not at all going to depend on whatever already Oracle created. Let them be in the instance as a sample data, but we are not going to just work on those sample data. By treating this instance as a fresh instance, in fresh instance environment, how we'll start working and all, by following that model only we'll be learning all these payables, receivables, GL, APR, all the applications whatever we planned as a financial applications. Okay, so now if you want to just log into this instance, if it is a fresh instance or any instance, for every instance there will be username and password called as sysadmin. But current instance, whatever instance we are going to use, that instance you can understand as a vision instance. Okay, within the vision instance what happens, there are some sample data Oracle created, sample definitions they did, they created some sample users also. For our initial classes, we'll use some existing user which is created for vision. So now what we'll do is, instead of going with a system sysadmin user and all, we'll use another user called as operations. We'll use the user called as operations. Later we will go and create our own user and we'll be working on that base. But for initial classes, to make it to some easy understanding for you, just I'm going to use operations user. So what we'll be doing will be, in this instance there are many users, but initial classes will be using the user called as operations. Username is operations, password is going to be welcome. Okay, so these operations user you cannot see in the fresh instance. In the fresh instance you can see only user called as sysadmin. Even whatever the instance we are using, vision instance, that is initially just that is a fresh instance. Later they did the setups and they created a number of users. Out of big list of users, one user is operations. Along with that there will be sysadmin user also for every instance. Okay, we'll work on sysadmin user later. Now what we do is, we'll start just understanding based on operations user, which is predefined user. I mean, this user is defined by Oracle for demo purpose and all. Okay, just before we go and create our own definitions and all, just we'll take use this user, then just we'll get into the application. Once we understand some basic points, then we'll create our own user, we'll create our own primary calendar, chart of accounts, primary ledger and all. We are not going to use any predefined which are already available in the system environment. Even it is a kind of some sample data is existed, we are not at all going to refer, or we are not going to use it. We are going to treat it as a fresh instance, and how in the fresh instance environment, how we'll be working, we follow the same practice and we'll be doing all the things. Okay, so that we can do in this instance environment. Okay, fine. Now what we'll do is, just we'll log into the instance as a operations user. Okay, we log into the instance as a operations user. I think it's almost going to be 10 or 10 and up. What we'll do is, we'll see in the tomorrow session. Okay, we'll start working on the instance from tomorrow. If you have any queries on this point or today's session, you can ask me, then we'll discuss. Or I'll yeah, please.
Yeah, Lakshman, quick
Yeah,
question.
please.
So, in these overview sessions, what would be the coverage of in terms of the training? So, what exactly you will be covering in these sessions?
No, no. See, in this session, these are the points. Like, see, up to what level of knowledge you require to understand what are the sessions we are running. That level I'll be covering. We'll discuss that. No issues.
Okay, okay, fine, fine, thanks.
Yeah. So, I hope these sessions are useful for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's very much so much insight into EBS.
Yeah, because these points are very, very important. You have to understand before you go and work on any version of instance. Can be EBS or Fusion or anything. Okay, fine. So, if you have any queries on today's session, you can ask me. Then we'll discuss. Otherwise, we'll just log into that instance and we'll just see the look and feel of the application and that rest of things. Just let me log in. We'll have just 5 to 10 minutes discussion. So I think already I shared that URL to access this instance. Okay. So for every instance, we'll have a sysadmin user and password also sysadmin. That is a default. Apart from that, we have many other users since this is Vision instance. Now we are going to use the user called as operations. So just this is a URL to log into. This is a home page, a login page for the instance. You can provide your username as a operations. Just enter password as a welcome. Then click on login. Now, what are the responsibilities are already assigned to this user? You can see all the responsibilities. So, in the left side, whatever you see, all are responsibilities. Okay, we'll understand in the upcoming sessions. We'll understand how to create responsibility, how to assign and all. Just to give you some understanding, I'm just doing this. So, we logged as a operations user. For this user, see earlier we discussed one point, right? Here we discussed one point. Okay, we discussed one point. We'll create the primary ledger and we'll create the responsibility. This primary ledger will be assigned to this responsibility. Then finally what we do is this responsibility will be assigned to user. Okay, this responsibility will be assigned to user. Okay. Yeah, Nitish, 1 minute. Yeah. So this responsibility will be just will create responsibility, will assign the primary ledger to responsibility. This responsibility will be giving access to particular user. So in the same way, this responsibility can be assigned to this user on that base. Okay, there are many responsibilities assigned to this user. If you look into this, here username is operations. Okay, and here you can see the list of responsibilities which are assigned to this user. Okay, these all are already just there are some predefined and there are some response which are created by this operations base. Okay, so now what I'll do is if you want to just go to any responsibility, here you can see that you can look for what are the responsibility you want to access. Just for our understanding purpose, what I'll do is I'll go to some GL responsibility, general ledger responsibility. In this big list you can look for that general ledger responsibility. Okay, so here we have a responsibility called as general ledger vision operations. Okay, so this responsibility will consist of futures. Those may be very selected or all futures which are related to general ledger application. Means within this general ledger responsibility, we have a menu already we discussed. Okay, we can create the responsibility by selecting specific features or all features of application. So within this responsibility, general ledger responsibility, we have a menu. Within the menu, what are the submenus and the functions we have, we can see once you click on this. Just click on general ledger vision operations USA responsibility. Just click on this. So it is opening. Okay, here we have a journals, budgets, inquiry, currency, consolidation, reports, setup, and other. Just I am going to just expand this journals. Click on that expand. Done. Under journals we have enter, post, encumbrance, and all. If you click on enter, it will open the form automatically. That means if anything and any link if you click, if it is opening the form, that you call as function. I just clicked on this journals, but that is not opening any form, that is opening other options. So that kind of names we call as a submenus. When you click on something, if it is opening some form, that we call as function. If it is not opening some form, it is opening other options, that we call as submenu. So here I have a import. I'll click on this. If it is opening the form, import we call as function. Otherwise this import we call as submenu. I'll click on function, it's not opening, that is submenu. And here we have a define. If I click on define, if it is opening any form, then that define we call as a function. Otherwise we should call it as submenu. I'll click on this, it's not opening. But here I'm going to click on some name called as enter. If it is going to open any form and all, that I'll call as a function. Just click on enter. So once you just click on this enter, it is opening the application. If it's opening some form, it's going to open some form. That means the enter we can call as function. That is the difference between the function and the submenu in the application environment. If you click on something, if it is not opening any form, that we call as submenu. If it is opening any form, that we call as function. This is already existed responsibility, just for your information I'm showing. Anyway, we'll be creating our own responsibility and all, then you can understand the whatever the level of understanding you require. Okay.
So in Fusion, they got rid of this Java plugin, right?
Yes, yes. Just let me once again try for that. Just click on enter. So this is how it will be opening the responsibility, and what are the function you selected, that form also system will be opening. Just you can close it. Now you can see you are in the general ledger vision operations responsibility. Okay, so now you are in the general ledger vision operations responsibility. So from here you can go to any form and you can record any transactions. So something like just navigation I'm taking here, I can go and enter. Here is the form. Just it will open the form. In this form you can create the journals. It means transactions you can create, and you can do the process and all that we'll discuss. It's not directly we are going to work on this. So from here only you can create your calendars, currency. Okay, you can set up your currency and you can create the chart of accounts and all. Say for example, anyway we'll have a separate session on this. Just I'll run through this overview and all. If you want to create the calendar and all, here we have a navigation. From here you can take navigation, setup, financials, calendars, say accounting. So here you can create your calendar by giving the date and uh, period and date range, etc. You can do it. Anyway, we'll see the detailed process before creating calendar, what we have to create, and other points also we'll discuss and we'll be doing in the system environment. Okay, so this is what to understand about this concept called as primary ledger creation, and how what is the purpose of responsibility. And when we are creating the responsibility, we can create the responsibility against the menu or submenus or functions. That all depends on the user role in the company. Okay, if you have any questions on these different points we have today, so if you have any just queries on calendar creation or this currency types or chart of accounts or primary ledger creation, means it's all about conceptual understanding on that base. If you have any questions you can just ask me, we'll discuss again here to understand the responsibility and all. Like every application will have a menu consists of features. Those features will be classified into submenus. Under every submenu will be having the features, the same features only you can call as functions also. Finally, when you are going to create the responsibility by selecting one or multiple features or else all features related to particular application, we can create the responsibility. Simple point, if you want to work on any application, against that application you have to create the responsibility, then only will be able to work on that responsibility. Okay, so that is the point. So, and already we discussed by using the forces calendar, currency, chart of account, we can create the primary ledger. Then we'll create the responsibility. This primary ledger will be assigning to responsibility, and which user require access to that responsibility. We'll create the user and we'll assign this responsibility to that user. The user, when they log into the system, they can see those responsibilities so that they can start working on that. To have some idea on that, this is a point we taken here. So if you look into this, okay, we logged as a operations user. This operations user have access to many responsibilities. Since these all responsibilities are assigned to operations user, so once you log in as operations user, you can see all the responsibilities under the same user. Now this user can access to any responsibility. Every responsibility will be referring particular application. That means this user can work on the multiple applications since that application related responsibilities are assigned to this user. Okay, if you have any points to discuss on this, you can just ask me the questions, we can discuss. On today's session, if you have any questions, please. Any questions? Fine. Then fine. If you don't have any questions, we can wind up the session for today. Okay. We'll see you in the tomorrow session. Okay. Fine. Yeah, Srinivas.
Thanks very
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lakshman.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.